And so what is it that means so much to you that you are willing to give it up in order to get something else? Because what you're getting may not be for you. I tell people all the time, the word compromise should be eradicated from our vocabulary when it comes to this. Because God does not compromise. God does not waver. God does not change his mind. God does not do anything that will go against what he intended before the foundations of the world was laid. And so we've been studying through the book of James. And in the book of James, we was looking at the power of the tongue. We was looking at when you fall into diverse temptations, when you're dealing with people. We talked about all those things. And so last week we kind of took a break from the book of James because the third chapter, the first part, we talked about that tongue and the power of the tongue. It led me to another thought about your tongue gets its direction from your thought pattern and how we think it. The Bible says, so are we. From the abundance of the heart comes the issues of life. So when we talk, our issues comes out. If you want to know what a person is about, just let them keep talking. Just let them keep talking. Just monitor their conversation. Amen. And see what they're talking about, or better yet, who they're talking about. See where they place their emphasis, because the Bible says where a person's treasure is, that's where his heart will be. And since your heart is contained with a lot of information, only that which is in you is going to come out, and that which we talk about. Matter of fact, a guy named A.W. Tozer said it like this: that which we look at lovingly, is that which we lay our hold on and our attention to. So whatever you look at lonely, loving it, always got your attention focused on it, then that's where your heart is. Amen? Amen. So today we want to talk with you from the topic, deceptive versus divine wisdom. Deceptive versus divine wisdom. And we're going to be looking at James chapter 3, verses 13 through verse 18. And if you would allow me to read those verses, and then we're going to piggyback off of them and see what the Lord has to say to our hearts today. Now, let's look at James chapter 3. James chapter 3, starting at verse number 13. And James records these words. It says, "Who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show by good conduct that his works are done in the meekness of wisdom. But if you have bitter envy and self-seeking in your hearts, do not boast and lie against the truth. This wisdom does not descend from above, but is earthly, sensual, demonic. For where envy and self-seeking exist, confusion and every evil thing are there. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruit, without partiality and without hypocrisy. Now the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace." Yes. So if you don't get anything out of this little message today, please note in your heart, write it down with a pen and paper if you can. True wisdom is God's will becoming our way of life and living. Let me say that again. True wisdom is God's will becoming our way of life and living. True wisdom is God's will becoming our way of life and living. So if you're not living according to the will of God, the passage suggests that you're not having godly wisdom. It's earthly. It's sensual. It's demonic. So the writer asks a question. Who is wise and understanding among you? Look at the person next to you and say, are you wise? Well, when I look back and I think about James, James is giving us a hint on how we should look at this word called wisdom, because this word called wisdom has been thrown out in the English language. It falls almost in line with the word love. It's the word that we misuse and abuse. It's the word friend that we misuse. This word falls in those categories where we say these things. And depending on the content or the context of what you're saying, it depends on how you're using it and how you define it. Because there are people out there that say they love you, but it's not the type of love that's a godly love. It's what you call an eros love. An eros is where we get the word erotic from. Erotic love is that type of love where I'm going to get mine whether you get yours or not. So if it means I have to tell you that I love you to get what I want, then girl, I love you. Man, I love you. All you want is your hair did. Nails done. That's like I say, hair did. I'm going to get my hair did. Or whatever you want. I just want some financial security. I love you. That's all I want. And then we have those people that have, I love you. But I love you is dependent on, I'll do for you based on what you can do for me. That's what you call a phileo love. Now, there's nothing wrong with phileo love, but sometimes it can be misguided. Because it lends the emphasis that whenever you stop doing yours, you should not expect me to continue to do mine. That's what Teddy Pendergrass used to say. It's a 50-50 love. That's what we're talking about. It's what they going Dutch love. You ever go Dutch? So it doesn't matter, you know, whether love is long term. As long as even if I'm not the man, you better make me think I'm the man. That's that type of love. And then finally there's that love called agape love. That agape love is that unconditional love. It's that God type of love. It's that type of love. You may not love me. You may not appreciate anything I do. You may not even acknowledge that I love you. You may not even act like you know that I'm loving you, but I'm still going to love you. It's that type of love. It's like I know all the dirt on you and it's not going to change how I love you. And guess what? I mean, God knows all our dirt. He knows everything about us. And because he knows everything about it, it caused him to come and do something about it. And when he did something about it, now it's up to us to make a decision. Are we going to receive and accept this offering called salvation? Because even then, those type of things render us to make a decision, a definitive decision on whose report we're going to believe. Are we going to believe the report of the world, or are we going to believe the report of the Lord? We have to make a decision because life is based on decisions. I tell my children all the time, if you make good decisions, you can expect good things to happen. It may not come quick, it may not come how you want it, but you keep doing good and good is going to happen. You shun every appearance of evil and you don't have to worry about evil things coming at you. But if you make bad decisions, then you can expect bad things to happen. I tell my children all the time, clean your room. Now you got to make a decision. You clean your room, then you can expect something good. You clean it or don't clean it, there ain't no telling how I'm going to respond. How's it? I might wake you up. I might take away some privileges. When I wake up, I'm hitting something. It's going south. So you got to make a decision. If you don't do your homework, students, you can't expect that. You can't go around and say, she gave me. I tried that lie. It don't work. The Bible says, study to show ourselves approved. So if we study to show ourselves approved, then we're going to be a workman that need not be ashamed. But we have to make a decision whether or not we're going to study. Life is based on decision. And so when we look at this passage, we see three things that we want to lift to your attention. And we have to understand these differences. We must understand, but before we get to this, let's say we must understand the difference between true and the world's substitute. That's what I said? True wisdom and the world's substitute. Why? Because the world is always trying to substitute what Christ has already said. Because we can't say Christ is wrong because we know better than that. So what it is, Satan devised a system called substitution. He devised a system, it's called political correctness. It's called going along to get along. It's called just doing what you need to do in order to get where you need to go. Not that you really buy into it, but you got to do what you got to do. Young people say, I just got to do me. I said, that's what got us in trouble. Eve in the garden decided she had to do her. Why? Because she saw a tree to make one wise, to know the difference between right and wrong. And when she bit the fruit and passed it along to her husband, standing there with her, and he bit the fruit, they saw that they were definitely wrong. But it came at their heart's desire to have it our own way. When we look at this, the first thing I want you to see, if we're going to know the difference between true wisdom and the world's substitute, which I call false wisdom, we have to understand, first of all, that there is a distinct difference in their origin. There is a distinct difference in their origin. And when we look at verse 15, when we look at verse 15, it says, this wisdom, talking about that deceptive wisdom, that wisdom that comes from man's heart and desire to have it our own way. It said, this wisdom does not descend from above, but is earthly, sensual, and demonic. This wisdom doesn't come. What type of wisdom? You remember when the children was trying to build that tower to Babel, the Tower of Babel? And they were trying to build this big old tall tower. And God looked at them and said, hey, if they continue to do this, it's going to tell them how high this thing going to go. It's going to reach up here. So God went down and confused their language. He scrambled it up. And what do we say when people just talking just to be talking? They babbling. That's where they get it from. Because God came in and confused the language. Why? Because God was not it. They had a thought and they had a strategy. And God said, that strategy is not my strategy. So therefore, let me mess with it. And whenever God doesn't like what we're doing, he begins to mess with us. Have you ever had some results that you thought was foolproof that didn't go your way? God was messing with you. Yeah, you can't pull that Michael Jackson talking about just leave me alone. And so God said, no, I got to deal with them. Why? Because there's a distinct difference between them. Let's look at verse 17, the A part. The verse 17, he said, but the wisdom that is from above is first pure. It is pure. In other words, it's unadulterated. In other words, it's without blemish. It's without any hidden agenda. Why? Because when we talk about purity, we're talking about holiness. We're talking about the wisdom that God gives us is not just for us, it's for all mankind. It's for the world in which we live in. Why? Because God wants to So when we do it our own way, he said it's earthly, it's sensual, and it's demonic. In other words, he's saying that's like spiritual masturbation. What are you talking about, Pastor? Hold up, Pastor. You got to get out of pocket. No one else get pleased during that encounter. And that is the epitome of selfishness. And as believers, we sit up here and make up decisions that have nothing to do with nobody else. And God's saying, that's not the way I operate. You're pleasing yourself. You're doing it for yourself. And when we look at life, and look at how many Christians you know got a blessing for the Lord, nobody else get a blessing with it. Can share the blessing. New car. They make sure they don't give you a ride. New furniture in their house, you gotta watch how you sit. You gotta almost take a shower outside the front door. They want to show you they're blessed. They just don't want to share it. Why? Because I gotta protect godly investments. And God said, no, that is sensual, that is earthly, that is demonic. That's the furthest thing from my intention when I bless people. The Bible said God's a way that seemeth right, but the end is destruction. So we got to make sure we understand the distinct difference between the two. 1 John chapter 2. You just flip right back before Jude. Right after James, got 1st, 2nd Peter, then you got 1 John. Then you go to the 2nd chapter, and we'll look at verse 15 through 17. The Bible tells us, do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, you see that? The lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world is passing away, and the lust of it, but he who does the will of God abides forever. See, there's 3 types of sin that invades all of our lives if we're not careful. There's the lust of the eyes. You see stuff, and you just gotta have it. We call it eye candy. We may not be able to possess it, but we're going to try to soak as much of it as we can. You know, and why? Because we want it. Now we have this fixation with that which is going on in our lives, in our minds, in our eyes. Why? Because we want what we just saw. And Satan said, if I could just get them to look at it and give it some consideration, then they're going to learn how not to. You say, well, Pastor, I'm not sinning. Oh, yes, you are. I ain't done that. Oh, yes, you are. Because Paul tells us that no matter what state that I find myself in, I learned therefore to be content. And Satan say, I can remove contentment from their heart if I could just get them to desire something else. Because whenever we desire something else, we don't want what we have. What we have is not good enough. And let me tell you, whatever you have right now is enough to get you what you want. Yeah. And Satan say, all I gotta do is just flip the order. Let them not appreciate what they have. I told you what my father-in-law said, right? The grass is greener in Pasadena. Sound cool to me. But you're not in Pasadena, California, nor Texas. You're right here in Humble. And so you got to understand and appreciate what you have. So many marriages have been broken up because somebody lost contentment. Somebody saw something that they didn't have. So we the Bible says we have lust of the flesh. What does that mean? That means that not only do I see it, but I got to touch it. I got to grab it. Why? Because I'm now consumed with it. And when we are consumed with something, we won't stop until we have it. That means we will neglect some things. It's like almost like you have an addiction. Because Satan say, if I can just get them to look at it, think about it, then they're going to start planning. And remember I told y'all a while back, it takes you a minute to sin? How many of y'all just sin on impulse? I mean, you know, people, why do you do what you do? I don't know, it just happened. Nothing just happened. You got to think about sin. You got to plan it out. You got to find somebody who is just as weak as you are to sin with you. And then you got to talk them into it to see the benefit of it's really not sin. And then you got to go find a place to sin. You got to take money that you really wasn't going to spend on sin. Why? Because the eyes saw it. The flesh caught hold to it, and the eyes and the flesh had a conference. And so the eyes said, well, I shouldn't be touching. The flesh said, but I really want it. And then the Bible says, there comes the pride of life. It says, you deserve it. Y'all ain't never saw that scripture like that, did you? You are entitled to it. As much as you have worked, as much as you have done, and they don't understand why, man, go and get it. Bump them. I say bump. I don't know what y'all say. So we got to get to place. Why? Because Satan understands that if he can just get our heart and mind as far away, he don't have to get you away from God. All you got to do is just get you just on the other side of grace. You deserve it. How many of y'all don't believe you deserve better pay? Nobody thinks that. And say, no, you don't think that way. You deserve just a little bit more than what you have. I don't bother nobody. I pay my taxes. I mind my own business. I deserve at least 72 million. I can't let it go, y'all. And so we got to get to the place. Why? Because he said there's a distinct difference in our origin. And I want y'all to understand, Satan cannot cause you to make bad decisions. All Satan does is plant a seed. Right. All he does is just plant a seed. It's up to you. Because remember Paul said, like he said, I planted, Apollos watered, and God give the increase. I got a neighbor who planted a tree in their yard. And within a week, the tree needed to be dug up. It died. Didn't it die? It died. You know why? Because in this drought, they failed to give the tree adequate water. And whenever you don't water a seed in a drought, in a dry and parched soil, then the seed would not be able to function as it should. It would die, but then now it has nothing to make it grow and to flourish. So it dies. So all I'm telling you is Satan planted a seed just to water it. Say it well. Amen. You ain't got to ask her name and number. You married. You don't have to have that car out of those people's driveway. Or the car lot.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to, you choose to.
Right.
And so the origin does not start with that. All he does, let's see, the origin of entitlement starts with us. Satan could have never confronted Adam and Eve unless he saw something in them that desired something that they didn't have. And he's still doing the same thing. And this is why I tell people, Satan collided everybody but God. Satan, what are you doing? Well, I'm just walking around, seeing who I can destroy. He he can't say, well, I'm just chilling. I ain't doing nothing. He can't lie to God. So he lies to us. So what do we do? Let's go to 1 Peter. So how do we deal with this? 1 Peter. 1 Peter chapter 2. Verse 1 and 2 says, now this is the word which by the gospel was preached to you. It said, therefore lay aside all malice, all deceit, all hypocrisy, envy, and all evil speaking. As newborn babes, desire the pure milk of the word, that you may grow thereby. We got to lay aside. Some things you don't play with. Some things you don't negotiate with. And you never compromise to it. Because see, there are some surgeries they can plan out. If you got a torn and you need an ACL or anything like that, and they can set up there and say, hey, well, we can schedule surgery or when you are available. And then y'all sit with your doctor and they do a consultation, and depending on the severity of the tear or the problem with your knee, they can plan it out. They can plan it out. But if you got a tumor in your side and they do a biopsy on it and it's malignant, they ain't gonna sit up there and say, well, what you doing next year this time? Exactly. No, they gonna send you straight to Methodist or wherever you're gonna go, MD Anderson, and they're gonna schedule emergency surgery. Why? Because some things you don't sit around and just let it go. Yeah. The Bible tells us that we should flee youthful lust. We don't sit there and say, well, I can handle it. That's right. Amen. If your lust is money, and people are always trying to get you to get a bigger deal at the expense of you getting a better relationship with the Lord, you need to run from it. I can't tell how many times people come up to me and want me to sell stuff. Man, I don't sell them, but you're such a great speaker. I'm good only in speaking about Jesus. I used to be good talking about people. So now I kind of mix them in. But I can't sell you nothing. I thought I could. I tried selling cars for 2 weeks. It didn't work. Told the man, well, what makes you think you can sell cars? I said, sir, I can sell snow to Eskimo. He said, wow, you got it. Man, I went there and all the stuff. I can't do it. I can't make you want something you already told me you really don't want. I can't afford that with them. Let's go over here. I don't like that. Well, ain't nothing I can do for you. Michael said he can. See? We trying to get him to live. But you will have people, wow, but if they see a fixation of lust of money, they see all these things that you desire at the expense of your relationship with the Lord, then they will tap into it. So you have to understand that it has a distinct difference